Well, here we go. David Christian Gross. It's the Christmas podcast. What do you make of that then?
Well, I can hear the bells.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if there's bells ringing, then it must be Christmas, because everything I listen to at the moment has bells ringing on it. So they're joining us in the background, which is nice. And yes, I'm feeling very Christmassy. This is our first Christmas podcast, which is nice. Anyway, more importantly, can we just remind everyone, as it is the end of the year, why we do this podcast, Trevor? What we doing this
Dave, we'll never tire of saying this. It's very simple. It's a support to provide that signpost for business owners when navigating those choppy waters of how to raise finance for their business, where to go to for advice. We know where they've got to go. Guild of Business Finance Professionals, where you'll find your local professional who is experienced, knowledgeable, and a safe pair of hands to help guide people through. And that's what we're doing. We're just very subtly and sometimes very bluntly just telling them what to do.
Well, I couldn't have put it better myself. And, of course, the guest that we have on today is somebody that I think will probably ram that message home, especially bearing in mind that the people who want to be listening to this are business owners. And we've got a great guest on today, haven't we, Trev?
So I tell you what, I think this is going to be one of our best and most downloaded episodes once word gets out. This guy is truly inspiring. He's a very bright young man and knows what he's doing and knows where he's going. And a little shout out, if it wasn't for our dear friend in the guild, Duncan Payne of Adamantean, you're going to hear his name and his business mentioned once or twice, maybe a little bit more. Dunk's a good-looking lad for his age and mileage. He's the Martin Kemp, really, of the guild. That's how I look at him.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he'll accept that compliment, as I would. You're more the, I don't know, who's that guy off Right Said Fred?
Yeah, thanks. I'm surprised you haven't said the chap out of what was it? Buster Blood Vessel from Bad Manners.
Yeah, much too young too much, wherever it is.
Yeah. I prefer Right Said Fred, actually.
Martin's a great guest. He really does tell us exactly what it is that we're doing on this podcast, the reason that we're doing this podcast, and we're very grateful for his time. Very grateful for Duncan's referral and anybody else out there that has a business that you feel has a story to share, bearing in mind that this podcast, as Trevor just said, is to get the signpost up, is to make sure businesses come through someone like myself or Duncan or anyone else in the guild that is looking for some kind of advice or guidance to access business finance, which is just a nightmare. And I have to say, Trevor, and I'm sure I'll speak on behalf of guild members, it's been difficult. I mean, God knows how businesses must be coping at the moment. I think Martin's story will cover off most of the challenges that he had. And thankfully, he met Duncan, and thankfully, his business is thriving.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he's going to get one of our mugs, isn't he? He's going to get one of our
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, there's a lot to get excited about in life, but those mugs that everyone keeps hearing about are on their way, Trevor. They'll be here before Christmas Day.
Excellent.
I think there's another potential mug that we should be sending out. And I think you saw his email. It's from Dale Colshaw at HSBC.
We love Chippendale. We love him. He's a quality operator. And, do you know what I like about him? I mean, obviously, I think you've practically got a day-to-day relationship with him. He's just consistent, isn't he? He's consistent. He's helpful. And this is an observation I get of him. I mean, he's a top boy, isn't he? Chippendale.
But more importantly, his podcast. I mean, I don't quite understand all this Spotify stuff, but my understanding is at the end of the year, as a Spotify member, you get some kind of wrap, whatever you call it, which tells you what you've been listening to most throughout the year. And according to Dale, our podcast has come up on his 2024 Spotify wrap.
Good grief. Well, he's obviously got nothing better to do on the cold winter nights, but God bless you, Dale, and thank you for your support. And I doubt he'll be alone on that. I really do. I think we've been talking about bringing on a big cheese. There are moves afoot, Dave. Moves afoot. More to tell in the new year on that.
Talking about big cheeses, Trevor, an individual that we're hoping to have on the show next year, an ex-rugby player, Tom Boyce. And I know that Tom was a customer of Jack Bithell of Bithell Asset Finance, and Tom, an ex-rugby player for England, for Wasps. I didn't know him really, and I bumped into him, but never really got to speak to him. I know he's well known in the rugby world and in the business world, and a sad loss of life for him. So I just want to send out our condolences to his family and friends.
I agree. It's sad times. I don't think any of us know the full details behind that, but I think we'll all share in a few moments of reflection on that.
And also,
that sad loss.
Yeah. And also, Trevor, can I just say thank you to your daughter, Scarlett, for holding her Christmas charity quiz that we all marched down to, was it last week, a week or so ago?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Just want to give a little bit of background on that, because I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, my daughter Scarlett, God bless her, and her good friend Hannah, they lucky enough to be selected to run in the London Marathon next year. But look, everyone's got a sad story, but this one's quite sad. And they and their friends lost a delightful young lady, Kezzy, when she was 18 to cancer. And I remember that vividly, and I remember the support that Scarlett gave and all the girlfriends gave to Kezzy's mum and her family. So they're running for Teenage Cancer Trust, and if anybody's interested in contributing to that, very worthwhile cause, then just get in touch with us.
Exactly. I mean, Teenage Cancer Trust and World Cancer Research, I think, was the other charity.
That's it.
And
bob on.
And look, certainly at a time like Christmas, it's always good to give, and I would be certain, I already have given to that charity, and anybody else who wants to give to any charity for that matter, then let's be mindful of that.
And the quiz was good, Dave.
Yes.
Don't forget. I mean, she only told me off 3 times for being too loud and disruptive. I got a warning before we walked in. I got the daggers at least 5 or 6 times. I got the big finger up to the mouth to tell me to shut up, but hey, made no difference.
And what's the male turkey called?
Gobbler. Hey, that was a complete guess.
What do Japanese eat at Christmas Day?
Oh, I can't remember.
KFC.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Their go-to for Christmas dinner is Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That's bizarre.
Things you learn on these quizzes. And my dear wife won the John Lewis £50 voucher, which I was very, very pleased. And we've actually spent it, Trevor. We bought ourselves a smoothie mixer.
Excellent.
And that'll be used on at least a couple of days of the year. So
well done.
Thank you again, Scarlett. And if you want to donate, then please go ahead and donate. That's a great charity. And thank you for that evening. Really enjoyed it. But apart from that, I think we're ready to move on, yeah?
I think we are, my friend. I'm really looking forward to this. Let's crack on.
Exactly. Enjoy.
Come on.
Enjoy. Well, here we are. Our next guest. Trevor, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, superb. Look, this man has achieved so much. But look, less of me barking on. Let's get straight to the action. Martin, do you just want to just tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little bit about the business. We'll get onto the financial bit later, but just tell us where you've come from and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And my company, EVESS, we are specialists in a very niche type of event. In fact, we specialize in one type of event, graduations. And this is a traditional industry that's been around for hundreds of years, survived multiple world wars, multiple pandemics, and it's still here today. So it's a business that's ripe for disruption. So what we do is we do the gown hire, we do the photography, we embed sustainability and technology, those things that students and our end user really care about. And we've built a really great business around that.
Great. And also, Trevor, I was trying to work out what EVESS actually means. And I did do a bit of study. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Does it stand for Events and Success?
You got it, spot on.
That's not the quiz question, by the way, Dave. That comes later.
But I like names. There's always a reason as to why, someone's come up with a name, and there's always something behind it. And the actual company name, though, Martin, is Graduation Attire Ltd, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's because we started off with our main discipline, which is the graduation gowns, the really traditional bit. That, to me, is the part that we knew once we could break through that, we would have completely got into an industry that is ripe for disrupting because it's got so many barriers to entry.
Sure.
And of course, making these gowns requires finance, which is, key to what we've had to talk about.
Now listen to me, young sir. I've got a date to offer you, the 12th of July, 2013. Talk me through that day, please, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my graduation day, also the day I registered the company. What
was more important, graduating or registering the company?
Well, when you go there and you see a genuine problem that you want to fix. So imagine this. I rock up on my graduation day. I spent more money to rent my gown than it cost to rent a car. I'm expecting an amazing service. And what I got was anything but that. I walked into the room, I got a gown crumpled up into a ball, and it was just handed to me and with a bit of a grunt, and someone pointed over to another area where I could go and dress myself. I was like, this doesn't sound like I'm getting good value for money here. In fact, it felt like the exact opposite. I then went to the photography studio looking a bit, worse for wear because I'd put the gown on wrong, the hat was on backwards. And then I went into photography. I mean, photography, fair enough, the photography was great. But then I didn't even get to pick the pictures that went on my wall. Now, that seems like a big issue. And I spent more time in queues than I did with my family. So the whole experience, and people spend a lot of money for this live milestone, just didn't add up to what I'd built up in my head. So when you see a problem like that and you think, wow, there's 3,000 students here. I just spent £200 across the day. I did the math and I thought someone can do this a lot better. And I thought, who better than a disgruntled student with a few friends around who will say, you're a bit of an idiot, Martin, but go and do it. Go and register it. I went, boy, and I did it.
Like it, you're our second business owner that we've had on. From experience comes opportunity, doesn't it? You see something that's not quite right. You think, hold on a minute, there's got to be a better way of doing this. Really? And that in a nutshell is what you saw there and then. But you didn't go, right, I've now graduated. 10 minutes later, you go, right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and register a company and do something about it. Or did you? Was it that quick, or had you already been thinking about it?
I'd already been thinking about it because I'd feel in the build up to graduation, I wasn't excited. And, the best businesses are built around a real problem. And when you feel that problem and you want to solve them, and that solution is so inextricably linked to that problem that you experienced yourself, you feel compelled to go out there and fix it. And, I've been thinking about it and I've been joking around with people beforehand. I thought, if I get to graduation day and it still doesn't live up to these expectations, I feel like I'm getting that last bit of money squeezed out of me on this really important day, then I'm going to do it. I got there and the experience was a 1 out of 10.
But this brings me on to my next question. There are people that have the idea, some seed has got into their head. For example, we had the seed of this business finance podcast over a year ago. And the reason that we felt there was a space for it is because no one else does it. And it's such an important part to what our career has been based on. Hence why we thought about it, we talked about it, and we're doing it. The difference between perhaps, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but someone like Martin who has the seed of an idea then actually decides I'm going to do it, as opposed to the majority of people that don't. And I know that we're very entrepreneurial in this country, but the difference between those that do and don't, Martin and Trevor, answer me on this, would you call that the entrepreneurial streak? Would you call that something that somebody has within them? However it's been nurtured, I don't know, but there are those people that say, yes, I'm going to do it, and those people that don't want to do it because it's too risky or they don't have the capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I always have this sense and this feeling of, if not now, when? And when I see that problem, and, it seemed at that point in time, there was no other incumbents in the market that were under 100 years old. And I thought, this is really, really odd. Graduation is about the students. Surely a load of students would have had an idea of making their own gowning company and disrupting
Exactly.
it. And in fact, when I looked into it, there were companies that had tried it. And naturally, a student seeing this great market that they've just, got staring at them in the face, they want to disrupt it. But the barriers to entry, which I mentioned earlier, are so high that most of these companies start up a year or two later, they've run out of cash. It took us 5 years to win our first university contract. And by that, I mean an actual contract which I could take to the bank and say, hey, we've got something here.
Yeah.
The first 5 years, I was working whilst building the business. And that was how I could get past the skills gap required to have this, what I call deep domain knowledge, to then win those contracts.
Yeah.
Liking it. No, listen, I'm going off on a tangent already. I've got a little idea, chaps. Dave, you're pretty handy on keyboards. I'm not bad on brass. And old Keanu Reeves here, he's on double bass, I think. Grade 8. I mean,
oh, yes.
So could we think of some band names during the rest of the interview, please?
Oh, we can do this. We can have our own genre. We can call it rock and robe instead of rock and roll. Yeah,
nice.
I'm in there.
Nice.
But Trevor, I thought you were relating to the fact that I do actually keep a list of band names.
Oh, let's
And don't think I'm weird or anything, but the reason the reason I do this, Martin, is I was also a musician. I mean, nowhere near to the level that you were at in terms of I didn't do grades. I just taught myself how to play the piano, and luckily I loved it and had a passion for it, and then ended up playing in bands. In fact, the year you were born, I was touring around Norway in a band, which I absolutely loved. But the process of trying to think of our name was so difficult. I know that experience from people that either it's a company name or a band name, trying to think of a decent name, honestly. So whenever I hear something, I write it down, as you quite well know, Trevor. But they actually do sound more like
right.
They do sound more like horses, but at the same time,
I think we need to hear a couple.
Yeah,
right. Thank you, Martin.
No,
so here we go.
Martin, no.
So here we go. We've got Pram Face, Hunky Dory, Bellahead, Ms. Fizz, Pipsqueak, Where Are the Children? We Say So. So I carry on.
Right, okay.
Crash Bang Tomfoolery. Silk.
Right, getting back to what we're here to talk about. Now, I've heard the word, you've just used it. I'm a fan. I don't care. I'm ambivalent, disruptor. Look, let's break that down. What's that mean? Doing something different, adding value, being different in the marketplace, giving customers a better experience. We'll get onto the sustainability thing at the moment, but just tell us in a nutshell what you identified that had to change and how you did it and what you did to change it.
So we picked two key things that I really cared about and I knew students would. And one of those was sustainability. And the other one of those was technology. And I just thought, if you're taking something as mundane as what I class as, or some people class as a shapeless black sack, sort of graduation gown, how can we make it more exciting? So we thought, okay, we could put an RFID chip in the gown. And that was one of the things I had to do to actually get our first asset finance deal across the line. I can tell you all about that. But I really believe that these experiential things make a big difference, because what we're talking about is an event. Events need to be experiential, not functional. And that is what needed disrupting. Everyone started focusing on the gowns or the photography, not how it's all linked up and turned into this memorable day.
I did a bit of research.
Blimey, makes a change.
Oh, calm down. Here's another date for you. 1987. Do you know what was defined in 1987 by a UN commission? The word sustainability.
Oh, really?
And I will give you the definition. Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I like that. Now, I'm not a massive techie, but I do know what an RFID tag is. Was it that insight that made your customer proposition an integral part of the ability to finance those robes and those gowns?
Yeah, the question I guess here is, what came first? The RFID as an asset management tool or the RFID as an experiential tool?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is it came in as an asset management tool. So picture this, here's me at the age of 27 at this point. We won our first university contract, the University of Exeter. Amazing. We didn't expect it to happen, but it's happened. I need £250,000 to make 5,000 graduation gowns. Or when I say to the bank graduation gowns, they hear shapeless black sacks. And so I go to the bank, can I have £250,000 for 5,000 shapeless black shacks? And of course, the answer is a no.
Yeah.
And it's an emphatic no. I then meet Duncan from Adamantean, and he's like, I think I can help you, but I deal with assets. And I said, well, these are assets. They're gowns. They're no asset, right? He said, but yeah, they don't have serial number. He said, okay. Well, what was if I put serial numbers in all of these gowns? One said you could come in and find gown number 702,000. He said, well, maybe we'll have something then. So I said, okay, let's put these RFID chips in the gowns. Let's make them unique, traceable assets. The RFID chip does some amazing stuff. When you walk across the stage, we take a picture of you. That picture gets tagged with the gown's code, goes into the cloud, and minutes later, by the time you got back to your seat, you can already see your on-stage photo.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because the earliest thing you said there was you went to the bank and the bank just laughed at you. But then Duncan, and for our listeners, Duncan Payne of Adamantean is a founding full member of the guild. You're his customer. And I think, from what you're saying, he helped provide a solution that enabled you to get the business going effectively. Would that be right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think key to that was the British Business Bank, EFG, the Economic Finance Guarantee, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And that was what turned into CBIL was eventually. But I was using that through Duncan as an intermediary in 2018 when this all happened. So, and that was the key to it.
And how do you view Duncan in your business? Is he integral? Is he somewhat?
Absolutely. I'm the sort of person that never sees contracts as contracts, agreements as agreements. Everything is a relationship. And Duncan is brilliant at building relationships with his clients. And we've tried to make that the core of our relationship. We're constantly communicating with each other. He knows exactly what my growth plans are, so he can support those. That's a key thing. We are ambitious, and he understands, that requires cash for that growth. And he says, how many gowns do you need each year? And I say, well, this is what we think we need. And we can start planning things way in advance. So I can be ambitious because I know as soon as we get another contract signed, he's there. He's part of the team to get that
good
deal across the line.
Can I just ask, just rewind a bit? But the reason that we are called Business Finance Matters Podcast, and the reason that our logo has got a signpost on it, is we're trying to direct business owners to the Guild of Business Finance Professionals, of which Duncan Payne is a member of the Guild of Business Finance Professionals. But how did you find him? Because the signposting, as far as we're concerned in our market, is still really poor. So how did you find Duncan? How did you find that door to open?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first started the business, we were operating, first of all, like any good business, from my mum's house, from my bedroom, which then slowly overtook all the rooms of the house. And then we had to move out. And the cheapest and most flexible place we could really store everything was in self-storage. So we moved into this place called Viking Self-Storage. And I found that a great incubator for lots of different businesses. And one of them next to us called Replications was an events company. And Duncan was coming in regularly there because they were supporting Holly, the owner, to get all their finance on their equipment, their AV, cameras. And I met Duncan through that. And he just said, one day you're going to need me. So let's exchange numbers. And when you win that first contract, you come, you call me, and we'll get that deal across the line.
Good boy. That's really interesting. And again, this is without going too deep into the struggles that we have in our industry sector, but that's how majority of people find someone like myself, because they get a referral. So that business owner has asked another business owner and they've said, oh, see David or see Duncan. And that the challenge that we've got, Martin, is we need to have business owners waking up in the middle of the night, as they often do in a sweat, worrying about something, to know where to go to. I mean, the banks used to be the place to go to. That's long since gone, as you experienced back in 2018. So we need, which is why the Guild was set up, to try and put a signpost up big enough so that when those business owners like yourself suddenly have this requirement or just need someone to talk to, the signposting is here. And that's our biggest challenge. Even government who we've worked with, and the Treasury who I've worked with, they all get it. They all see why people like us exist, but they, for whatever reason, choose not to help us with the signposting. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly think the least of my worries is finding finance. And for me, it allows me to concentrate on the shiny front end, winning work, bring in revenue. And then when that revenue comes in, we've got a rock solid intermediary, Duncan, to help us execute those deals.
But do you know what? And in that's superb, because what you're doing, you're creating jobs, you're creating opportunity, you're creating positive outcomes. But let me go back. Talk to me. I think you're passionate about this subject. Talk to me about sustainability, or how important it is to you in the business.
So we are using sustainable materials. We're reducing our carbon output. We're training our staff to operate in a way which is efficient across all of our metrics. So for me, it's not just about, like you say, the vanity metrics, the bits that you say you're doing. You have to put your money where your mouth is, and you have to do it. And for us, we've gone really far into embedded carbon. We need to do more on the operational carbon, our day-to-day. But yeah, we've got, a real kind of traction in the market because of this. And I think the universities, with their own aims around sustainability, really buy into that, because we actually therefore help contribute a significant impact to their scope 3 emissions. And for people that don't know what scope 3 is, that's the carbon emissions output by your suppliers.
Sure.
So we look into our suppliers, we look into our scope 3, but we are scope 3 to our university clients.
Yes, good. That brings me into the next question, because going back to business finance again, you've obviously explained why you needed business finance for a particular side to your business, and you found Duncan, which was great. But I also, buying in of your materials. So wherever you get your materials from, I'm assuming, are they overseas?
Yeah, so we manufacture 90% overseas in China and 10% here in the UK.
So there needs to be some kind of business finance product in place. And I can see that you use Seneca Trade Finance, is that right?
That's right, yes.
So they're a company that I know of, and they're an organisation that provide a facility that enables you to bring products in from inside and outside the UK. But how did you find Seneca?
Seneca Trade Finance is something I found outside of Duncan. It was just before the pandemic, and I was looking for a way that we could unlock these deals. And I kind of had this conversation with a broker. They put me in touch with Mark Maguire from Seneca Trade Finance, and we put something in place. It required a personal guarantee, but the one thing that Duncan was imperative for in this, he said, if you've got a PG, did you know there's PG insurance? Because you need to limit your exposure there. And he introduced me to a company called Perbeck, right at the same time. Yeah. And that was like, even to sign the document, I was like, my heart was thumping, because I'm like, okay, I'm responsible for this.
Yeah.
And this product that Duncan made me aware of, and I didn't even know it existed, kind of unlocked in my brain, okay, I can just sign this now because I've got 80% of the exposure covered.
And I suspect, so there's two parts to my question here. One's probably a statement, one's a question. But I suspect, knowing the type of individual that you are, Martin, and you're the type of individual that probably on first pass would probably have, look, I believe in my business, I believe in my people, I believe in my product, I believe in everything. I've got no issue with putting my neck on the line here. But what you probably didn't then anticipate, hence Duncan's involvement and guidance, what the reality of that PG could be or could have been without his advice on that.
Again, I'm sorry to go back to the money thing. So when you started up, you obviously found the funding needed to get the ball rolling. Then you found Duncan, and then you were able to I mean, there's very few businesses that can. We call it, or we use the word best fit quite a bit in our industry or in our world, because Seneca, for example, they work for you, and clearly that's been a great help. But there are lots of lenders in the market that do trade finance. There's lots of lenders in the market that do asset finance. There's lots of lenders in the market that do loans and invoice finance. And again, the other reason that we're all here today is for business owners to sit down and think, should I go with Seneca? Should I go with ABC Trade Finance? Should I go with XYZ? Because there are so many options, and each lender has their own criteria, their own terms and conditions. And I mean, it is a maze. It's a maze when business owners sit down and think, how am I going to find the right product and the right provider for my business? And you're one of the lucky ones, because you found someone through referral, and you were able to find someone like Seneca without having to take an advisory pathway to get there. But as far as we're concerned, there are still so many business owners out there that generally just look blankly at themselves in the mirror and think, how am I going to gain access to finance? But not only how am I going to gain access to finance, how am I going to have access to the best product that meets my needs, and ultimately someone can sit behind it and tell me, this is what you need, and here's the reasons why. This is our struggle.
Absolutely. I think someone like Duncan, someone like Seneca, they're so hungry to help us, which is amazing. Like some of our asks get bigger each year, as a company's growing, those asks get bigger, and they're able to just, flex and deal with it and help us without any undue stress to us. They take on that responsibility to say, let's see what we can do for you. Of course, there are other finance mechanisms out there that we utilize. So I might touch on some of those. One of them that's really key for us is merchant cash advances. We are hyper seasonal. We get 60% of our income in the months of June and July. We're that seasonal. And, we just need a little bit of finance in January, February, when cash flow is a little bit bereft. And, it's not looking so great. And a merchant cash advance is amazing for that, because it's tied to your sales with the ones we use. So when you're not selling, you're not repaying. Isn't that brilliant? Yeah. And then when suddenly we hit like May, June, July, all our booking systems open up, and we repay those loans off in like a couple of months. We don't mind though, because it's helped us through those quieter months. And the deals with merchant cash advances that we use tend to be, the aim is to pay them off within 5 to 6 months.
Good.
We end up paying very little in the first, 3 or 4 months. And in that last, section, it all gets paid off. But I don't mind, because that's exactly what we need.
Yeah. Is that just before we go off to Iron Napa for a month in August with your wife and your first?
You've definitely done a bit of reading. But absolutely. So, after the hustle and bustle of July, I like to relax.
Having it large, I believe, is the vernacular.
Having it large.
So, Martin, tell me, look, there's the history. I think we've clearly established the importance of having a good funding partner, someone who knows the market, someone who can guide you through the stresses and strains, leaving you to do the shiny bit, which I think I don't know your business. I barely know you. But I get to my age, get to Dave's age, he's a bit older than me, and you just get a feeling, you just get a sense that you're talking to someone who knows what they're doing. So where's the business today? I think you said you had about 8.5% of the market last year. Have you grown that? I mean, how many's in the team? Just give an idea of where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in the last kind of 6 or 7 months, we've grown the team by 7 people from about 25 people up to 32. So grown the team by about 25% roughly. And then on top of that, our revenue has grown, but really these are baby steps. We've just, next year, we've got a great senior management team stepping up. We've got a new managing director, new commercial director coming in. Growth is going to be up the handle of the hockey stick. We're expecting to double our revenue in the next 3 years. And Duncan's going to be key to that. Seneca's going to be key to that. I have no fear of growing the business to as naturally as big as it can grow. But there's a time where I might need to just elevate or sidestep my role to make sure that we've got the right talent to take it to that stage. I myself probably don't feel I have the natural abilities to take it past but I have the abilities to get it.
That's really interesting. And I won't bore you about a meeting I had earlier, but a similar...
No, please don't.
A similar kind of issues. But you're still only 36 and you have this plan. You're definitely an entrepreneur. You definitely have what seems like a business that's going in the right direction, all for the right reasons. But does Martin ever sit there and think about what he's going to be doing in 5 years' time?
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of, when you get to the point where a business is becoming more stable, you've got regular recurring income, a great senior management team, you start to think, will this business outlive me? And I think that's the point we're at now. I do believe that this business will long outlive me and it will go on to do amazing things. So I do think about the future, and I think about what sort of team do I want to have in place to build the culture that I care about, because that is key, because culture starts at the top. And we need to put the right people in place that really live and breathe that culture. So my main, work these days is finding that team, building an unstoppable team for the future.
And do you think? I mean, look, we've had people on from all sorts of backgrounds. We've had some of our members on from the hospitality sector, from the forestry. We can get as far diverse and graduation gowns. But I got a funny, sneaky feeling you could pick your, let's call it philosophy up, and probably drop it into all sorts of different marketplaces. Do you not think?
I definitely think so. I think that mindset that actually you can't do this on your own. In fact, nothing worth doing is worth doing on your own.
Sure.
And the mindset here is, for me, is I know there is a lot of talented people out there. I want to find as many of those as possible. I want to bring them into our organization by building a company around values that those people care about. And I want to have an unstoppable team to execute on our plans. And those plans probably won't come from me in the future. It will come from that team that I put in place. And once you've got those people, in fact, I said to someone today, if you came into the business, you could speak to one of 10 people and you would probably think that those people own the company because they speak so passionately about the company that you wouldn't even know. And I said, when you get to that stage, you struck gold.
But you know where that comes from, Martin. That comes from you. We got to decide who's leading the trio. All right. So,
Martin, Martin's definitely the lead singer.
Well, my mouth's going to be full of mouthpiece. You're going to be away with the fairies on the keyboard. But
I've got a very good whistle that I could bring into the mix.
Do you still play it? I mean, do you find time to lock yourself away in the bathroom somewhere and just get the bass out?
I unfortunately do not too much anymore. I do want to, find a bit more time in my diary to get stuck back into orchestral playing, which is what I really love. Yeah. I love being part of an ensemble, creating just beautiful sound in a venue that envelops you. There's something greater than that.
You know that? I mean, sometimes, I know, Dave, you do it as well. I think we probably all do. some nights I just switch the telly off, but I go and find something. I mean, it might be a Pink Floyd concert, and it just takes you to a different place. I have often thought, and hypothetical, I pray and I hope that if I lost any of my senses, the last sense I would want to lose is my hearing.
Pardon?
Is my hearing.
Sorry?
David. Yes, correct.
Well, I sympathise. I don't know about you, Martin, but if I sit down at a piano in a certain state of mind, I would hear something resonate from that chord or from that sound, and that'll be it. And before I know it, 4 hours have gone by. That doesn't happen so much anymore because I don't have 4 hours to spare, but when I used to play.
But do you also, I don't know, I think rock musicians call it a hook, or musicians, but there's often a phrase or sometimes even a note in a melody, and it might be a change from one key to another or whatever it is. And I that often makes me tingle. That really does.
Well, look,
it did actually
I'm
laugh.
just conscious of it. We're getting on in time, and thank you, Martin, for yours. But I just want to end up by saying we are in the Christmas period. Have you had your office Christmas party yet?
We're doing something on the 23rd. Out at the moment, we've got Christmas, or actually they're called winter graduations. So all our across various venues. I was in Lancaster yesterday. I'm in Exeter today. Southampton next week. So we're all travelling around. We're going to do something at the office, and then someone from the company that actually has arranged for us to go out for a meal as well, and it's going to be great.
So whereabouts in the country are you going to have? Actually, you're in Bedford, are you? Is that where the company trades from?
We are, yes, that's right.
So you'll be in Bedford somewhere, will it?
Yes.
I can't make the Christmas party. Sorry, Martin. I'll be in Portugal.
Here he goes again. That's all you talk about. Martin, it's been a delight. You are a very, very driven individual. I'm not going to say it. I'm in awe of your mindset, your attitude and your philosophy. But listen, if Duncan continues to do the sterling effort and job that he does, get doing the shiny stuff and build the business and make it even more successful.
Martin, you know, when I listened and watched the YouTube clip that you sent us, my younger son, he's got a bit of a business head on him, and he talks quite a bit about what is an entrepreneur. And it's very hard to explain in some circumstances, but, you know, I do what I can. But when I saw your YouTube video, I sent it to him. I said, watch that. You came up with the idea, wanted to do something, and you did it. You know, and somehow you got that moving forward. And now here we are, X number of years later, and we're talking about, you know, what's going to be happening in the next 5 years, 100 staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, like Trevor said, without wanting to glorify you too much, Martin, but I'd doff my cap and congratulate you on everything you've done. And we'll watch you from the outside and wish you continued success.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Just on that, the one thing you touched on there, what is an entrepreneur? I think an entrepreneur is someone who sees the top of one mountain as the beginning of the next. And management is the people that get you to that top of the mountain as quickly and as effectively as possible. And I think there's an equation. It's entrepreneurship plus management equals success. And that's what it's all about.
Great way to end.
Do you know what?
Great way to end.
Well, one thought I've just had.
God, here we go.
We could have a quartet, you know. I'll tell you who could be our front man. He's a bit Martin Kemp. He's a bit Tony Hadley. What about Hunky Dunky on vocals?
Even if he can't sing, let's give it a go.
Get the punters in, that boy. he's far too good looking for his own good, that boy. Listen, let's wrap it up. Martin, fabulous. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You know,
and anybody that wants to know a little bit more about the company, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's EVESS, spelled EVESS.co is your website. And on there, you'll see everything. What a great company. And wish you all the best for the future. And thank you so much for your time.
Happy Christmas.
Pleasure, and thank you to you both.
Happy Christmas.
Martin.
Thanks, Martin.
Super. Thank you. David, my friend, what an absolutely lovely human being that boy is. I mean, come on. He's just, I don't know, there's something about that lad that I really liked.
There's a film there, something about Martin. And do you know what, for me, bearing in mind we are the age that we're at, and we've met a number of businesses, and there's sadly, there's very few, and I don't know if it's just the times, and I don't know if I'm just being ignorant, but there's very few businesses that I come across these days that are started from someone who's got that entrepreneurial spirit, and not only is doing well, continuing to do well, but has a plan in place. And a lot of that's down to him, which is great. But as Martin said, business finance has played a major part in that. And thankfully for him, he has found the go-to in terms of where to get the business finance from. And for me, that was instrumental. And I'm sure, as he said, that was instrumental to him too, into getting to where he is today.
Yeah, and do you know what I liked? Even when he was looking for a solution that he found off his own bat, Duncan had the ability to say, metaphorically, his hand on his shoulder, he said, "Hold on a minute, my son. Just wait a minute before you sign that document. I've got something to tell you." And then we had the discussion about the insurance on the guarantee.
Yeah, and Duncan, like many members of the guild, has that ability to be like that. You know, we've all got skill set, and most importantly, we've all got the ability to see businesses for what they're worth, and hopefully, you know, with our experience and our ability to understand what they're trying to do and how they're going to get there through us in terms of getting the finance that they need. It's a skill set, and hence why we keep trying to put this signpost up about the Martins of this world. You know, come to us.
You've taken the words out of my mouth. Let me try and put it succinctly. Do you know the one disappointment? Thank God he met Hunky Dunky. Thank God. But it was chance. They didn't set out to meet each other.
No.
It was by chance.
I know.
He happened to be calling on the business next door.
And that's my point.
It's wrong.
Exactly.
It's wrong.
Exactly my point.
Totally wrong.
Exactly my point.
You know, the likes of lads and girls like Martin should be able to find the right signpost that isn't direct to the bank.
Correct.
Look what you said. You know, the bank laughed when he said, "Oh, financing, I need £250,000 to finance a load of black sacks." Well, of course the bank's going to laugh at that because the bank's not the right place to help him with that.
Correct.
And
it frustrates me, and I don't mind repeating it time and time again. I've had meetings with the Treasury. I've given them examples of the Martins of this world, the businesses that have a great idea, or they have a business that's got so much value, it just needs that support. Read recently that the new Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, again, I'm not a massive political animal, but even she talks about small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. And I went to the Treasury, John Glenn at the time said, small businesses are the backbone of our economy. It's a very similar sentence with a slight change of words, but they're still trying to say the same thing, in which case, why are we not getting support from within government that says, Martin, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you don't know what to do, here's where you go. The signposting is still not there. Why is it still not there? It just makes my blood boil.
Do you know what, though, Dave? The first party, and we are agnostic on politics here.
Yes.
But the first party that actually puts their money where their mouth is and does that, well, they've got my vote. But
why aren't they doing it, Trev?
Well, I don't know.
I can't understand it.
I don't know.
Mental.
I'd tear my hair out if I had any left.
Mental.
But there you go. I'll tear my beard out, but there we go.
I mean, there are so many potential Martins out there. People that have a great business idea, or people that already have a business.
They exist. There are Martins out there of all ages.
Exactly.
He identified something that could be delivered in a better way than what he had personally experienced.
Yeah.
And, mate, he's done, as you rightly said, he's not only thought about it, he's done something about it, and he's doing something about it. And more power to himself.
I'm so glad that we got him on, and I hope that we'll have other business on there sharing similar stuff.
Do you know what? As we said on the chat, I definitely want to keep in touch from a podcast point of view. We will catch up with him, and we will follow his progress. And
even if we can get the band together as well, can you imagine that?
Oh God help us! What have we set off here? I think Hunky Dunky's going to be all over that. He'll love standing up like blooming Martin Kemp. He'll love it. As you say, he probably can't even sing, but who cares? He'll pull the punters in, just his looks. But,
good. Well, look, a great podcast to end the year on, and as it's Christmas, a couple of jokes for you. If athletes get athlete's foot, what do elves get? Mistletoes. How many elves does it take to change a light bulb? 10. 1 to change a light bulb and 9 to stand on each other's shoulders. How does snowman get around? They ride an icicle.
It's going to be a riot in your house this Christmas, isn't it?
I've got more.
The cold Christmas nights are going to fly.
How does good King Wenceslas like his pizzas? Deep pan, crisp and even.
Folks, switch off
crisp
now.
And even. Anyway, that's it from me. Book early, avoid disappointment.
Folks, switch off now while the going's good, while you can get out and escape your lives. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Dave, my felicitations to you and yours this weekend, this joyous season. Big stuff coming in 2025.
Yes, we've got lots of positive stuff happening in the background. Hopefully we can bring that to the pod next year.
I'm sure
we have plans, but the most important thing is that we get these episodes shared and get out to the community that we're serving here. Trevor, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone that's listened to us over the past 8 months. I know you want to do the same. We've loved the support, of course, and the feedback's been superb. Please keep it coming. And don't forget to download wherever you can, whether it's from YouTube, from Spotify. It's just important that we share the podcast so we can get it out to those that need to be listening to it. And we do have some social channels, which I'm sure you're aware of, which is X and Insta. But Spotify is our biggest channel. And if you could subscribe to Spotify or any of them, we'd be extremely grateful.
And do you know what, Dave? We can generally say to all our followers and listeners across the world, have a peaceful Christmas, a restful, relaxing Christmas, and let's forward to a really good 2025. And one thing I'll take away from Martin on that, it's what we make it. Let's make the best of it.
I agree, mate. I agree. Good. So, on that festive note, Merry Christmas from him.
And Merry Christmas from me.
Have a good time. Speak to you soon.
See you. Bye. Bye.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!